Alright guys, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic that has come to light recently. The debate of whether or not anime should be made live action. And I have a special guest with me today, Chosen One, who, if you haven't heard of Chosen One, yeah, he's a very interesting guy. So you want to introduce yourself, Chosen One?
Um, I'm not that interesting, but thank you for that intro. Hey guys, first time on the channel, I think. Very much looking forward to this chat. I have very strong views about the anime adaptation, and it varies depending on the property. But yeah, thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, man, definitely. So I know that, you watch anime, like a lot of anime, and so how far back does it go for you? Like, when did you start first watching anime?
My first exposure to anime, I think I talked about this with, I don't know if it was you or Bat Val, but first exposure to anime, and I think we need to define anime, right? So for me, when the term anime in general for me means a cartoonish type animation that is not of American origin, usually of, coming from Japan or, somewhere far east. That's sort of my definition. If you have a different definition, I'd love to hear it. But my first exposure was Dragon Ball. That was my
Mhm.
first exposure. So when I watched that, you can tell right away, young age, after watching the American cartoons, you can tell that this was different, and it was a good different. This kind of fresh cartoon take, that just it lit up your eyes because it was offering something different. And then from there, as the years went on, I just plunged into other things, and it's one of the things that I'm happy to say has just gotten better over the years. But yeah, that was my first exposure.
Yeah, man. So pretty similar to you. I think we're similar in age, but I remember my first experience being introduced to anime was I think it was up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was this crazy Pioneer ad that came on TV, and it was
Mm.
it was showing clips from Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and I think it was what was the a Ninja Scroll. And it
Mm.
was showing a bunch of different clips, and I was maybe 12 or 13, maybe
Hmm.
younger than that. And I remember seeing that. I'm just being completely blown away, but Jesus, this looks nothing like anything I've ever seen as far as animation goes. Because up to that point, growing up as a kid, it was Ninja Turtles, it was Animaniacs,
Hmm.
Ren and Stimpy. Yeah,
The
it's
Ren and
all
Stimpy
it's the rest
cartoon.
of it's
That,
great, by the way.
that I mean, yeah, but it's nasty, man. There's something about that show that's just disgusting.
That's a whole nother video, but
I mean,
man,
the creator of that show needs to be on the watch list. But go on, go ahead.
unfortunately. Um, but yeah, so it basically it was an edgier, more adult version of things that I've seen before, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think from there, that was my first real sort of interest.
Hmm.
But it really came to pass when, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember Adult Swim?
Yes.
Do you remember was it Toonami was the name of the show, I think, with the robot guy?
Toonami. Yeah. So Toonami. Yes. Yes. It was a show slash. Like he was the host. You
Yeah.
know, he was the host, and there would be a slew of animations that would show, and he would pretty much do the introductions and the inter-episode pieces and the commercial breaks and all that stuff. But yeah, yeah.
Listen, man. Well, I think his name was Bob.
Mm.
Let's show Bob some respect because Bob
Oh yeah.
introduced me to some anime. this man, I think it all really like it started like the original start of this whole thing for me was Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm. Dragon
Ev-
Ball. Did you see Dragon
I
Ball first?
didn't see Dragon Ball. I
See that's very interesting. And before you go on, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's very interesting when I talk to people who have not seen Dragon Ball before Dragon Ball Z,
Mhm.
because it is my belief. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it or you didn't enjoy it as much, but I do believe you're missing a key, not a key, but a component of enjoyment if you didn't watch Dragon Ball first. It's hard to explain. Well, not hard to explain. I think you get what I mean, but
It is a
it's just
prequel after all, right? It shows the beginning of like when Goku was a child, I believe, right?
in Dragon Ball Z.
In Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If that's yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I don't know. Like you're saying, you haven't seen Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah, because I think they never even really showed that on Toonami. I think they went straight to Dragon Ball Z. So I think that was a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of.
correct. That's correct. See, they showed Dragon Ball on a again, when I was growing up, they showed Dragon Ball on a different network before it went to Toonami, and this was a few years before. So
Ah, I see.
Toonami was airing it during the week, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it
And
was after school, I believe.
okay, in Dragon Ball, when I was a kid, it would only come on one day, which was Saturday morning on a different network. So yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
But yeah, it's always been an interesting sort of like I've always wanted to go back and watch it,
Hmm.
like the original Dragon Ball. 'Cause I
Still
know
holds
that
up.
I believe you. I believe it does. So I mean, Dragon Ball Z was pretty huge for me growing up because it was a lot of different things. It was the fact that it was my first serialized anime that I started watching. Every day after school, I would come home and watch it. And I would watch, I believe it was the Frieza saga, which was like what really sort of hooked me into the world because of there was something about that Frieza saga where it felt like this was like the epitome of like action and the story of the underdog hero and like seeing all this as a kid and like the fight choreography and the character development, all this stuff, it was like nothing else on TV at the time. And I still hold my belief that Dragon Ball Z is like the best action anime.
So I am with you, and I'm glad you actually singled out the Frieza saga. No, how about this? I've actually got a question for you. If
Uh-huh.
you saying that Dragon Ball Z is the best action anime as a whole, are you taking everything into account? So we're going from, before you answer, I'm going from the Saiyan saga to the Namek slash Frieza saga to the Boo saga. I think there might be something in between. I'm bringing in the whole ball of wax because for me, Dragon Ball stopped being Dragon Ball at a certain point, and became something else. So, what do you think about any of that? Do you disagree? Do you see where I'm coming from there?
I think it's an interesting thing with Dragon Ball Z because there's so much after Z and there's so many like interesting things that Akira Toriyama did. But for me, I feel like the story arc that took place in Dragon Ball Z and having him fight Frieza, which at the time was the strongest guy in the universe, I feel like everything else after that was kind of like just like this is great, but this is kind of like a bonus. It doesn't really feel like a complete story, but I kind of fell off somewhere after the Cell Saga. Because things got a little bit crazy after that, and I kind of lost. I feel like it kind of lost its way a bit.
Yep.
I don't know if you agree with that, but I just feel like everything in the kitchen sink was kind of thrown in, and it was kind of just Dragon Ball Z. The Frieza Saga was like a nice, complete sort of beginning to end, Goku rose up. He fought the strongest guy in the universe. He beat him, and you can take it and leave it, and you can feel happy that you've seen it. That Goku won
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel, but that's kind of my story with Dragon Ball Z. I kind of fell off. I know the new stuff is actually pretty good from what I've been hearing, but have you watched any of the new stuff?
I did see, actually, speaking of the Frieza saga, I did see the movie, The Resurrection of Frieza. I did see that.
That was actually pretty good. It's pretty good.
That was pretty good. I was very impressed with that, especially given the fact of how bad things have gotten with the Dragon Ball franchise. And it's just a confusing thing because this isn't just limited to Dragon Ball, right? Because a lot of times, we do a lot of talking, and we've got franchises that start out really good and then they tank, right? And then they'll come out with like an iteration. Like, I don't know if you're a Dexter fan. You're in Florida. You should be. But
I watched, I think, most of season 1, but I didn't keep going. Because I found out a spoiler that kind of messed me up. Somebody said something and messed me up, and I was like, I can't. Oh god, I can't go back now. Like,
Damn. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, look. Well, just because that show tanked, now they've got this new season that's coming out now, which I generally don't support. Sort of, because you kind of messed up and you're coming back to collect again. I don't like that, but so far so good. Only two episodes in, and I'm getting a lot of that season 1 vibe again.
good.
Back to Dragon Ball with that Resurrection movie. It sounds like you had the same sort of feeling that I did. Like, damn, I mean, this is the closest to the Saiyan saga that they've gotten since this thing went off the rails. And, for me, you mentioned the Frieza saga as being your favorite. I think that's what you said. For me, it was the Saiyan saga when Vegeta and Nappa came to Earth. That was the hands down, the peak, 10 out of 10, flawless. And that's different from 10 out of 10 perfect, because with perfect you can mess up and then get bonus points later, but flawless is like literally you made no mistakes. I mean, it's like if they gave you a complete thing, in my view. If you think there's a mistake in there, I'd love to hear, but it's just they gave you a very complete thing. There wasn't an issue with power scaling early on in Dragon Ball Z, but it became a problem later.
Yes, you just nailed a very, very important point.
Right. And, obviously the most prosaic sort of example of that is the Scouter. And you could literally follow everyone's power level. And it's one of those things where it's like, because, we've talked about this before, where it's like, okay, don't just tell me, show me. They did both, so it worked so well early on. And
Man, you dropping the nuggets today, man. Because that Scouter thing, Akira Toriyama is not a stupid man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This guy gave people a way to gauge power level. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being able to have that ability? And it made it so easy for people to get into it, because now you can say, okay, I know how powerful this guy is. I know how powerful that guy is. And when this guy is this certain level, it's like,
Yep. And I don't know if this is how and this is one of those things where you say he's not an idiot. And he, early on, he didn't expect his audience to be idiots either, because when it came to power level, you let me know if you came to this conclusion like I did. There was something very unique about the Earthlings, because the way that the sort of rhetoric that the Saiyans, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa, and even some of Frieza's henchmen were talking on Namek, because they continued that later on. They were, the speech that they're saying is that the Scouter is paramount. There are no mistakes. But when it came to the Earthlings, as you can tell, they can hide their power. And it's one of those things where, for me, I got the sense that the reading someone's power with the Scouter, when it comes to an Earthling, you have your resting sort of power level, then you can push it down, because if you notice on Namek, um, um, Gohan, Krillin, they pushed their power levels down so they couldn't be detected, right? It's just
Yeah,
the
I
way
do remember that now. Yeah, I
it's
do
like
remember that.
the way that they were talking, it's like that's not normal. And when Vegeta fought Kui, the purple fish guy, on Namek, told him, like, Kui was very confident when he read Vegeta's power level. And then Vegeta, one of the things that Vegeta said before he powered up is that I learned to hide my power on Earth. So while you were resting, I was training, and his power level kept going up. And, miles away, Zarbon was reading his power level, and it kept going up, and then it exploded because it's one of those things where it's like you can tell that, again, without the creator just explaining it to you, you can piece things together. Like, why would a scouter explode like that? Because it's not designed
Listen to me.
track power level that's moving. And that
I
even
was
happened with,
just thinking about that. The fact
no,
that this thing can explode in your face.
it even happened to Bulma. Remember during the Goku Vegeta fight on Earth, she was tracking it in what's the guy's house? The old guy, his house. What's the old guy's name?
King Kai?
Roshi.
No, Master Roshi. I'm
Roshi.
sorry, Master Roshi.
Yeah,
King Kai is the other
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I love. I don't know how long you want to stay on Dragon Ball. I don't mind, but it's just one of those things where it's like I love when someone puts together a story where they give you just enough, where it's like, if you can make assumptions, and you can come to logical conclusions based on evidence that's put in front of you. And this is one of the reasons, and I doubt we'll talk about this series, but this is one of the reasons why Attack on Titan is currently #1 on my list. Because Isayama, my goodness, this man is a genius. He's a genius.
I need to follow up on Attack on Titan because I fell off of that, man. I was watching that a lot and I fell off, but I really do. I trust your opinion, and I know you know what you're talking about. So that's something that I definitely need to get back on. Is it complete?
And no, the second half of the last season is going to be airing, I believe, in January, and then it'll be done. So, yeah, not yet. I think we've got another 10 or 12 episodes, and then I think it's done.
But yeah, because I mean, I think this all ties in because, like, do you remember when they were trying to make a live action Dragon Ball Z movie?
Yes.
Do you remember how that production went and how Akira Toriyama was treated?
Oh, well, no, I don't know the backstory of that. No.
Well, I mean, they basically kicked the guy off of the project because...
Oh, right. That's right. Yes, everyone knew about that.
Yeah,
yes.
he was talking too much.
Correct. I remember. Yes. Oh my.
So, as a segue, I think this is a good place that we can kind of like get into the nitty-gritty of this, because I like that we had that discussion about the Dragon Ball anime, because it's all gonna tie back, because the fact that we live in a world where, like, the creator of something, the guy who put his blood, sweat, tears, his whole creative energy, everything that makes him what he is, they bring him on to do a Dragon Ball Z movie. Then they kick him off the project.
Because he didn't want to be ignored. This is why Alan Moore said no. This is precisely why he said no. Take my name off. I know you. I've danced this dance before. And, as much of look, this isn't just limited to anime. I'm a huge Song of Ice and Fire fan, but they weren't listening to George on the set of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this whole situation, like, this is the reason why Talkback became such a huge thing back in the day, because we were the only people who were basically talking about this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's about actually giving a shit because a lot of people out there, especially like, have you seen the responses that some of the people have been given with this Cowboy Bebop Netflix show?
I've seen a few. I was more following the Avatar live action series that they were doing, but I have seen, yes, I've seen what some people have been saying.
I'm actually, well, I'm actually surprised because it seems like for the most part, everyone is in agreement that this thing is a piece of crap.
I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm with you there. I am shocked. Yes, I agree. I
And
agree.
like, there's a couple of guys that are like, oh, just be happy you got it. Oh, grow up,
Yeah,
shut up. I'm like,
of course.
guys, like, if you care about this stuff and you respect this stuff, then you should have someone on the project that respects it as well. Like, that's just my whole like issue with this. It's like, and have you seen like all this like talk about how like what's that girl's name? Faye, I believe, and her outfit and all this stuff going on about that show. I'm like, okay, first of all, okay, we're gonna get real now, chosen one.
Mm,
Everything in anime is from a guy's mind. It's a fantasy.
hmm
So the issue here is that like it goes into the whole issue I'm having right now because like I was of the mindset when I was younger that oh, it would be great to see a live action Akira. Oh, it would be great to see a live action Dragon Ball. It would be great to see this X, Y, and Z live action. That would be so awesome. When you're a man making an anime, everything your imagination has no limit, so you can pretty much do anything you want. The reason why he made some of the
mm,
characters look the way they look is because it's part of the male fantasy, man. And it also ties in because like I believe her outfit in the show was part of her character in the sense of like she used her like sexuality to get around guys to basically
mm.
trick them. So if you have a guy in charge of this show who doesn't feel like he's got the balls to go through with the character like that, then don't do the show. Because the
See,
thing about,
it's kind of hard for me to comment. Go ahead, go ahead.
well, I mean, I'm laying out basic stuff because it's like anime is extremely ballsy. Some of the stuff that these guys do in anime, it's not for the faint of heart. If you don't have the balls to go through with some of this stuff, then don't do it at all. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. Um, and what I'm hoping, again, what I was going to say is it's kind of hard for me to comment on that because, like I said, I never got into Cowboy Bebop. But, just it's one of those things where it's like, I don't need to see it to understand what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying because my next question was, is she kind of scantily clad, sort of dressed, etc.? And it sounds like that's the case.
She's basically naked. She's basically naked.
Okay, that's fine. But it's one of those things where it's like Infinities before. It's like you don't even need to go online to read the comments to know that some people are going to have that reaction of stop complaining, just be grateful that you got, you know, you got an adaptation. These are the same people who told Star Wars fans to stop whining about Rise of Skywalker. These are the same people who made fun of Star Wars fans who cried when Luke came back, right? It's those are the people that come out of the woodwork and defend the product until the product is dead. But when the product is dead, they're gone. Who's there picking up the pieces after the product has died?
Exactly.
You and me. So it's so funny because in I'm not sure if you were around. You were. I don't think you ever were on the fandom, but there were some very very hot, heated Game of Thrones debates. And I've read all of the books. I'm a Song of Ice and Fire guy, and I had a conversation with Elio Garcia and Linda and Thompson. They are George Martin's sort of right hand. What shall we call them? They're sidekicks. I mean, they've known each other for years. They actually co-wrote a book together, a companion piece. And
Okay.
I had a conversation with them on Blog Talk Radio. I keep in touch with Elio here and then, but one of the things that I said to him was, it's one of those things where I'm not Johnny come lately here. I literally said in the discussion, when this thing is said and done, we will find out who the real Game of Thrones fans are. And this applies to everything. This applies to anime. You're talking about Cowboy Bebop now. I brought up the Last Airbender cartoon, and to your point, and it's ironic because the creator of, I think his name is DiMartino, he left the project over creative differences. So now I have no hope for that show. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, I'm hoping something. I'm. This is what I'm hoping, okay? Because if Bebop fails, and the Last Airbender fails, Andy Muschietti, who's going to be directing Robotech, hopefully it shifts some sort of, the way that these things are being approached is what I'm saying. I guess it's sort of wishful thinking on my part, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm hoping, because this is a relatively new thing. Can we agree on that?
It is new. Yeah, the fact that they're actually going through like these specific shows and adapting them is like a
Okay.
whole, yeah, it's a new wave, man, but we'll go into it. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I mean, just my final point. If it is a new thing, there is going to be some adjusting, is what I'm trying to say. And if they half-ass it on these Netflix series projects and it tanks and the reception is bad, I'm hoping that it will affect some of the things that are on the slate now when it comes to larger film properties that have yet to go into official production yet. We got an Attack on Titan live action film coming, which I am extremely worried about. Robotech, like I mentioned, it's just it's like I'm hoping they heed the warning, because it sounds like Bebop is sort of near and dear to your heart. Avatar is near and dear to my heart. So it's one of those things where it's like, if if these things are poorly received and poorly done, I'm hoping it would a light bulb would go on in the minds of the people who are behind greenlighting these anime to live action projects. That's in a nutshell what I'm trying to say.
Damn, first one, you're a very optimistic guy. I'll give you that. Because I really feel as if anime does not work in live action. Like I'm slowly coming to the realization that there's only very specific ones that you can adapt, and I think we should talk about Alita, because somehow, some way, these guys were able to do it, and I don't know how they really did it, but as far as all this Robotech and all this, I don't think any of that's gonna work, man. I just don't think
So
it's gonna work.
here's the thing, Infinity's Limit. I'm with you, and you're most likely correct. But what I would do is ask you personally, keep the door open. I am going to have something for you this time next year. And after you watch it, I want to see if you have that same stance.
Ooh, you heard it here first. Okay, okay.
Okay. Just leave the door open. Just leave it open.
So I think, have you seen Battle Angel Alita? Have you watched that?
Yes.
This is a
Very
movie
good.
that I've always wanted to like talk about because I feel like it was probably one of the best movies of that year, and it got completely overlooked.
Hmm. Well, did it?
I mean, for how good it was, I think
Okay.
not
That.
enough people really talked about it or gave it credit for it. The thing is, man, like, it was the only anime film made live action that I thought hit every single mark while still being a good movie on its own right and still satisfying me, even though I knew the story already. And it brought in a lot of new stuff that was kind of interesting, and I was like, from a complete sci-fi fan like myself, to watch a movie like that, it's like,
Mm.
damn, that was an accomplishment, man. Because how many anime movies have actually come out, like live action, that have been successes?
I didn't even know Alita Battle Angel was an anime. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's on YouTube. You can actually watch it. It's only about an hour long. The story is about an
Oh.
hour long. Maybe that's probably part of the reason why it worked.
Mm.
But I think it's a very complicated thing, man, because I was thinking about Akira the other day too. Like, for all these people who are trying to make an Akira movie, and I'm like, listen, man, if you're really gonna consider seriously doing that, do you have any idea the amount of skill and money it would take to make that thing even close to living up to the animation?
Mm. See, what? Well, let me ask you this: as an Akira person, which is more difficult to attain in your view, the skill part or the money?
It's definitely, I mean, you would need both for Akira, but I would say that as far as like, you mean like a director's ability to do it?
Yes. Yeah.
There's almost
I
no one. There's almost no one. You would have to have the skills of James Cameron, or you would have to have the skills of a Ridley Scott combined with like a visionary guy that can give you something that has never been really done before on that level. Like, it would have to be like Blade Runner on steroids. Do you know how hard that is to do?
no. Look, I look. I don't know. I mean, I know I couldn't do it.
It's
I know
it's
that.
it's too much, man. It's set in Japan, so you have to have an entirely Japanese cast. The only guy that can do it, you would have to get like a Japanese director, and you would have to bring on the original like comic artist to like consult on it. Because do you know how epic that Akira comic book is? And do you know how crazy it is? The fact that they crammed all that into one movie? Well, I mean, they left a lot of it out, but I think the fact that they
Mm-hmm.
created something that was so comprehensive back in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
like, it is just. I guess what I'm trying to say, man, is that in this day and age, I can't think of a single human being that can deliver a movie that would satisfy fans of that kind of film. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not when it comes to Akira, I agree with you 100%.
I mean,
Because in my,
yeah, I mean, I'm open to debate, man. So you think that there's possibility of good anime? Because I've lost hope, man.
no. Listen, again, like I said, I can't blame you for losing hope. But again, but it's one of those things where it's like two things can be true. Like I can't blame you for losing hope, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But at the same time, to touch on a point we agreed on earlier, this is a relatively new thing, right? So, um, I mean, I guess the term it being a bit premature to lose faith isn't fair, given the failures that have come out of the film industry when it comes to adaptation. Um,
But I think it's different with
but
anime because like
but that's what I mean. Yeah. Well,
it's
that's the
so specific. It's so specifically Japanese, and it's so outlandish and crazy, and just the uniqueness of it. I think is just only possible as an art form. as 2D animation. I think it's only possible to get that effect unless the thing about Alita that I liked was that they invested so much time and money in technology and the CGI in that film, and you could feel James Cameron's like fingers all over that thing. And I think that's the only reason that movie came out the way it did, because it takes a visionary mind to turn this into something that you can watch as a live action.
Mm. Mm.
You know, it's just like the imagery is too much.
No. The imagery was definitely on point. But outside of that, I think what sort of is not being overlooked, but what is sort of the subtle victory of that film is its story and how it got translated, if that makes sense. I think that is, like, when I look at the emotions on her face and the progression of the story, and you had some very heavy moments in that movie, and I'm saying, forget the visuals, what is this I'm feeling? And I think that is why I think that film, it's those subtle subconscious things that a lot of people may not be able to put into words, that I think actually makes a film worthwhile. And that's not limited to an animated film or a live action base. That's limited that encompasses, I believe, everything. So I just, I'm not, I mean, I hear you, but I'm not ready to go there yet, saying that it can't be done, because number one, I have a few things cooking, but I think it can, but it really takes someone, an outside of the box type thinker,
Exactly.
This is the Watchmen problem. You can't do an exact translation.
Exactly.
Just take that off the table. You need to do something new. You need to do something fresh that is respectful to the source material, but that's different. And that's the key, in my view.
It's actually even ties into comic book films, because do you remember when the first X-Men film came out?
Oh yeah.
I remember being a kid and I was like, why is Wolverine not yellow and black? Why is Cyclops not wearing his blue and like all the stuff was, but I don't know, like I'm thinking as an adult now, I'm like, it would look ridiculous. Like the thing about that film is that, like, say what you want about it, but I respect the fact that Bryan Singer like understood, like, okay, we have to adapt this thing, but I have to bring my own thing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, like with the new Resident Evil film coming out, I have my comments about that. It's like, this guy's literally, it's almost like plagiarizing. He's taking exactly what was in the cutscenes of the game and putting it in a movie, and it looks exactly the same.
I think I saw that trailer. That did not look good. If I'm thinking about the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah, welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah. No.
Look, I wish him the best, but like, my dude, like, you have to bring something. You have to bring something to it.
And that goes triple for today's day, because we are in the Walking Dead age. Like, there's zombies and it's like it's everywhere. So my first question to anybody that's doing this, if you're in charge of Welcome to Raccoon City, Infinity's Limit, what my first question to you is? How is this going to be different than anything we've already seen in the last 10, 15 years? And if you struggle to answer that question, I'm out. It's like, I'm out. I'm not putting any money or time in. You've got like less than a second to start answering. But if you take 2 or 3 seconds to start answering, it's like, nah, dude. Nah, we're out. Because I don't know. I don't know. I just don't get it. There was a good Resident Evil series that was on Netflix. It went way off the story, but um, it wasn't bad. I can't remember the name of it, but I think Leon is working for Umbrella now, and
Well, I know they
it's
did a couple of animated films, but I haven't watched any of them. I just have no interest. If I'm gonna play Resident Evil, I'm playing Resident Evil. Like I don't care
yeah,
about
yeah,
like
yeah.
these films. I mean, to be fair though, was the first movie that bad? Because I didn't think the first movie was that bad.
I can't even remember. Oh, with Michelle Rodriguez and
The original, like the very first one to come out,
um,
that movie wasn't that bad, man.
I wouldn't say it was bad. It, for what it wasn't bad. Let's put it that way. That's as far as I'll go. There we go. That's as far as I'll go.
But damn, we got off topic here, but that's okay. We're just kind of chilling here.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I've been looking at these reviews, man, and this thing is getting destroyed. Everyone is turning against this project. I don't know how it's gonna pan out for Netflix because, I mean, you say that it might be a wake up call, but I don't really know because I really don't think that these companies give a flip about what people are saying because, like, we've had so many failures, man, and it just keeps going.
True. True.
And
But
I don't mean to be negative, man, but it's just like damn.
no, no, no. I mean, I think you're right in what you're saying, but this is sort of where it's like, because we talk with the Merc, we talk with Have Hope, and one of the things I try and do in my life is see the patterns and always be ready for that monkey wrench that will surprise what your prediction is, right? So if we zero in on the thing that we agreed on 10 minutes ago, which is this is a relatively new thing, I'm keeping my mind open. You know what I mean? Like I hear what you're saying, where it's like there have been so many failures of this, but again, this is kind of new territory.
You know
So
what I'll say
let's,
though? I don't mean to cut you off, but I just thought about
yeah.
this.
Hmm.
The way that Death, Love, Death and Robots, the way that show has been like, I think that is the way because the way they use like CGI in that and sort of the imagination behind like the animation and all that, I think that might be an interesting way of doing a live action anime because I don't know, you watched the last season, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you can easily do like even like thinking back like way back. Do you remember when they did a Final Fantasy movie? How they did that entire thing in like CGI?
Advent Children, yes.
I think, man, like I think that may be the only way of really kind of like doing this kind of stuff. But this live action thing, just I don't know, man. I don't think it's really like gonna catch on like that, man. Because it's just like it has to do. There's something about anime that's handcrafted,
Hmm.
and I feel like when stuff is real and live action, you kind of lose a little bit of that.
Right, right. Um, See, anime for me, I think you and I are in the same boat. The animation is important, but it's the story that's paramount. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, like the thing about anime, it's like it has some of the best stories, man.
Right. So, and yes, absolutely. But I guess my issue is if we acknowledge that it has some of the best stories, but in general, the filmmaking machine that's going to be adapting these properties are poor at storytelling. What hope is there? Your point, which is 100% accurate. because it's like there are some things that there are, you simply cannot tell in a 2 hour or a 3 hour movie or a 4 hour movie. This is again goes back to the Watchmen problem, where it's like it is like if you're like Attack on Titan. I don't, just because Andy Muschietti made the It films, that doesn't necessarily mean he is qualified to tackle an anime that has a horror element to it. Am I making sense? Like, it's like,
No, because I mean, well, is this gonna be like a series or is it gonna be a movie? This Attack on Titan adaptation.
it's in development as a film as of today. And I just
How can
don't.
you how can you make a that sounds crazy to me? Because I know how like that show is all about build up. From what I watched, like a lot of it's like character development and build up. So I don't know about that, man. I don't know if that's gonna work. And didn't they make one already? They made a really bad one, I think.
Yeah.
Like
That
it was so awful.
Yeah, it was
My
bad.
God, I didn't even. I mean, I seen like footage of it, and I just like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. But I mean, you'd have to educate me on the Cowboy Bebop because I don't know how many episodes it was. But it's the same with Robotech. Macross Saga is it's 44 episodes, and it's like I just don't know. It's for me. It's about the story. You know, it's what story are you going to tell? And I don't know. I just think the fundamental flaw is that you have the wrong people involved in the translation. I think that is like before we can even begin to talk about whether or not this thing is even possible.
That is
You've got to get the right
100%. 100%.
have to get the right people involved and in the room. And even then, it may not be possible. But that's step one, you know? But I don't know. I don't know.
You know that I have a feeling that that Robotech thing is gonna. I just
It's in
said
this.
I have a feeling they're gonna be formers that thing, man. They're gonna transform the shit out of that thing, man.
Michael Bay's name was being floated around to take over this thing.
Ooh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, you know.
It does. It does.
Hey, the guy that made us millions of dollars for robots fighting, let's put him on Robotech.
Yep. Yep.
I never really watched Robotech. I remember like I saw a couple episodes when I was younger, and I remember there were like I liked the fact that the jet planes could transform. I thought that was cool, but it was so like long-winded and a lot of talking and very political, so I just never got into it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a soap opera of an anime, for sure.
Yeah, man. Which is
for
fine.
sure.
It's just not my thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's an acquired taste. Like for me, my brother and my friends, and you know that we grew up with, that was just our thing. You know, and there's a lot in there, man. There's a lot in there, and you know we're talking about like the animation. You know, I'm with you there. The way the planes transformed and all of that, it was Transformers-esque, but a little bit different. But for me, it was the characters, and even as a kid, I think I started watching this thing when I was 5 or 6, and even back then you could feel the deep emotion. You could feel like when characters died, when we're talking about relationship issues. There was at one point, this is spoilers, I don't know if you're ever gonna go and watch this thing, but
Probably not. Go ahead.
okay, but there comes a point within the series where the Earth gets attacked, and I'd say 80% of its population gets wiped out,
Ooh, damn.
and people are just wandering, man. It's deep. It's really deep. And going back and watching it as an adult years later, I'm looking at some of the episodes. I was like, damn, I didn't pick up on this. I didn't pick up on this, but I felt it at the time. It's there. It's all there. It's a very complete thing. There's a reason why there is a world renowned fan base. But there's a lot in there. Look, we don't have time to get into it tonight, but those stories are always the best for me when characters find things out about themselves given certain situations that make them think or give them pause about notions they may have had about other characters at an earlier stage in their lives. It's deep. It's deep, and I've only gotten that in anime, ironically. I have not gotten that in any live action series.
All of these things.
Maybe the why.
All these things are the reasons why. The reasons why like people love anime so much, and like Japanese storytelling, the art, the character development, the characters, the relationships. All of these things are so well developed in these. Basically, I mean, it's crazy because it's an art form, you know? It's a complete art form that like I think over the years has been like slowly kind of getting bigger and bigger. And right now I think it's sort of in a decline because I feel like for me like the best anime and the best stuff that has ever come out has been in like the late 80s, early 90s. That's like when anime was like at its peak. At least for me. You know?
No, I agree with that. Now, I agree with that, but when you say at its peak, like when we talk about the golden age of cinema, it's like you can't even compare it to now, right? It's not even in the same galaxy. When you say that the anime was at its peak in the 80s and 90s, I agree with you. But what's going on now with certain anime pieces? It's not far off, man.
No, there's definitely a better quality of consistency with anime than has been with films. 100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
But what I'm trying to say is that like besides Attack on Titan, there hasn't really been like a crazy sort of like edgy, never before seen kind of show. It hasn't happened since like the 90s. I think it has to do with the way that Japan was like at its peak in terms of budget. So they had like these big studios doing these enormous projects back then. They had the budget for it, but I think now it's like these guys are all scattered about, and like that's the reason why we had like Ghost in the Shell, we had like Ninja Scroll, Akira, all these like crazy. Do you know how influential Ghost in the Shell is? We wouldn't even have The Matrix without that film. And like the fact that the Wachowskis, a lot of what the Wachowskis do is taken straight from anime, like directly, like just the way that the shots are done, some of the way that they film these, like a lot of anime inspiration has kind of bled into like some of the best stuff that's ever been made.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
That stuff to me can only come from Japan, man. So unless you get like a Japanese director to start doing these anime adaptations, I don't really have that much hope.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm like Hawkeye, man. Don't give me hope.
Oh man.
But I am interested, and I'm open to see what they do, because Alita surprised the hell out of me, and I think it's possible, but extremely hard. And I don't know if Netflix is the way to go. I think you have to do these things
Yeah.
with a large budget, a lot of people behind it, a lot of talent behind it. I think that's the way. Yeah,
Getting
so
the
I
right
mean,
people. Getting the
yes,
right
yes,
people.
100%.
That's the key.
So I think we said what we need to say. You have anything else you want to bring up, or?
No. I think this was a good talk. Well, a very good talk. Enjoyed it.
I have to have you on again so we can talk more about Dragon Ball Z, because I think there's a lot
Yeah.
to talk about, because I want to go into that Frieza saga because some of the stuff that went down in Dragon Ball Z. I haven't watched the new one, but
You haven't
like
what?
I haven't watched the new one yet, which I just don't. It's hard to find time these days to kind of watch anime. But
When you say the new one, you mean there's a new there's a new Dragon Ball Z series?
yeah, Super, I believe, is the new one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not watching that. Look, I don't know how you feel, but depending on when it comes to anime, the audio is very important. Look, we can talk about that later, but I just feel that there are some dubbed iterations of Dragon Ball that, thank God, they weren't around when I was watching it, because I would have jumped ship. I'll just leave it at that.
It's funny you bring that up, because I think someone somewhere was talking to me about, like, they used to watch Dragon Ball Z, I think in Dominican Republic, and like I looked up a clip of like the dubbing, and it's quite funny. It's quite funny hearing Goku talk like that in Spanish.
No good. I mean, look. I was watching it when the Ocean dub was done, and it was done properly. I think Funimation took it over later on, and just the voices just went. Man, it's very important. That's my key point. I mean, I'm watching, like I think I told you, I finished Demon Slayer recently, and I can't even, like, 2 seconds into the English dub, and I'm like, cut it off.
You know, that happened to me with Squid Game. I was like, oh wait, this is a subtitle? Let me try it. No, whoa, no.
Yeah.
Going back.
Yeah. It's a huge thing, man. It makes all the difference. No, I can't stress it enough. It's a huge thing. Which is, I think, again, partly why I liked the revival of the Frieza animation series. And again, with that one, you have to be careful as well, because there is a version where the audio is horrible. But the one that I was watching, it actually sounded like the old school Frieza. You know, the sinister voice, the sinister almost half. It was like a pseudo. It made the way that Frieza spoke. I don't know if you got this feeling, but it's like, I thought at first Frieza was female.
No, yeah, he's kind of androgynous the way he's portrayed.
Yeah, but like, I guess, but what I'm trying to say is, in different versions of Dragon Ball Z, once they updated you can't, that sinister, that sinister almost female voice is gone. You know?
Yeah.
And,
I get what you're saying now. Yeah, part of the character is based on how you associate.
Yes, and that's what, and not just for Frieza, but that was just across the board with everyone. Vegeta's voice, Piccolo's voice, Tien's voice, and all of that was important. And it's accumulation of those small things that add up to the big picture, that you can't take them for granted. Not one of them, no matter how small, because it all fits into the big picture. And You know, to your point, maybe that's why you don't have hope, because you know it really takes someone who's on their game to realize that it's those small pieces that can make or break your entire thing.
This stuff is
But
not
yeah,
easy, man. This stuff is not easy.
it isn't.
Like a lot of guys out there now, these guys are running around with egos, thinking they can go ahead and just do this. Like
Matt
I had a
Reeves.
I have a lot of I think a lot, man, and I'm just like the other day I was thinking, man, imagine if someone gave me Star Wars. You know what? I would probably lose my damn mind. Not because of the fact that I'm getting Star Wars, but the fact that
Oh yeah, 100%.
having that on your shoulders to create something of that magnitude, to give people a new story, and to kind of get into the mind and create something similar to what George Lucas made, I would lose my damn mind.
You remember when the whole Watchmen debate was going on back in '09, right?
Oh, that was peak. That was peak talkback.
Right. And do you remember the problems that we were having with every time we would see Zack Snyder and he was smiling?
Uh
I,
huh.
it's like, it's, to your point where you say you would lose your mind if someone gave you Star Wars, it was the same thing with Zack. It's like, it's like, wait a minute, do you know what you have in Watchmen? Star Wars isn't Watchmen. Not when it comes to stress level of trying to translate that to film.
It is one of the
It's
most
not what?
complicated. I think it might
But
be the most complicated comic.
but this guy's smiling. This guy's smiling in every photo, saying cool and awesome. And I'm saying, bro, I need to see you with a full-on beard, circles under your eyes. That way I know that you're doing your job. But every time I
It should almost kill you. It should
but every
almost kill
time,
you.
every time I see this guy, this guy he's got light shining from every orifice. This guy is just happy, and it's like, nah, dude, I don't need to even watch this movie to know it's gonna. But yes, you're absolutely correct. These films should break you. Someone who's serious anyway. But I don't know, man. It all comes down to who's involved. That's it, and getting the right people, But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't.
Eh. I mean, I'm willing to give these people a chance, at least. Just know that the fans are not gonna hold back. We're not gonna hold back. If you come correct, you get rewarded. If you don't, you become you become Cowboy Bebop. And I think that's a good place to kind of end this. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you, man, taking the time.
Absolutely, man. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, man. I think this is sort of the way, kind of how the Merc sort of said back in the day, how all of us have to kind of hold the baton and kind of just keep the legacy going on our own, as far as talkback goes. And if you guys are wondering, who the Merc is, he's basically Morpheus, and he'll find you. Because me and Chosen are awoken from the Matrix.
Yes.
Alright. Thanks for watching, guys.
Later.